to, okay, got it. So please do, if you can on your computer, if you're on your phone, keep an eye on the chat. We do drop lots of good resources in the chat. So having just announced that we will be recording today's meeting, so that folks who aren't able to join us can view the recording, and also for note-taking purposes. Um, so we'll also be dropping the agenda for today's meeting in the chat if you want to look at that, and feel free, if you're so inclined, to help us take notes. We always encourage collaborative note taking at the FEC. So hopefully everyone is in the right place today. This is the Prince George's County Food Equity Council meeting, and we like to start every meeting by talking about why we're here and what unites us as FEC members and allies. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so you guys can see our foundational principles and guiding goals here. All right, so the Food Equity Council members share some principles that kind of bring us all together and that we use as a foundation to build on for our work. So we all believe and have signed on to support our belief that safe, nutritious, and life-sustaining food is a basic human right and need, and no one in our county, really no one in general, should be deprived of it. We also believe that you can't be healthy without access to good food. So there's an inextricable link between your diet, the foods you eat, the food you enjoy, and your health. We believe that no individual or family in our county should be deprived of enough food to thrive. We think that workers on every level of our food system deserve a good living wage, and they deserve just treatment and safe working conditions. We believe that the food system is an essential part of decision making, whether it's community and economic development decisions, or if it's long-term planning decisions. We think that agriculture is not a temporary land use, and that farmland should be really preserved in perpetuity in the county, and that ag should be considered when we make planning decisions across the county. And finally, that we believe that every place matters. We believe that the place that you live deeply influences your health and your quality of life. And that means that every place should be a place that you can thrive in Prince George's. We also have some goals that guide our work and sort of determine, what we focus on as far as policies and projects go. And I'll let you read those on your own. They're linked in the agenda, but you can see them there on the right side of my screen. So with that grounding, I want to also call your attention to a couple other items in the top of our January meeting agenda. Our last council meeting was in October, it was a while back. So we have the meeting notes linked here, and we also have some fun pictures from our winter holiday party. So we're really excited. We were really excited to host that at Era Wine Bar, which is a Black-owned wine bar in Mount Rainier. It's a really cute spot with some delicious food and beverages. And we were really excited to celebrate kind of the year with a few of our members, and just get to enjoy getting to know each other on a more personal level. So I encourage you to check that out as well. So I do want to invite you guys to introduce yourselves in the chat, and just share, your name, your affiliation, and anything else you kind of want to share with fellow FEC members. And when I say affiliation, it doesn't have to be your job. It can just be what brings you to the meeting today. So if you're someone who cares about food in your neighborhood, that's great. If you're retired from a food-related job, that's great too. But we'd love to learn a little bit more about you. And I also invite anyone who's here for the first time at an FEC meeting to come off mute and introduce themselves to the group, so we can get to know you a little bit better. It's kind of hard when we're all virtual. So I'm looking through the names. So if you're here for the first time for FEC meeting, please do come off mute and share your name and kind of what brings you to the meeting today.
Hi, my name is Jana Parker. I'm with PG Changemakers, and we have several different campaigns that we focus on in relation to the health and wellness of our community. One specifically that we're focusing on would be Food in Jail Should Heal Not Harm. We have a couple of wonderful partners that I see on here with us as well. Hi, Heaven. And we, I'm the executive director. I used to work for the National Farm to School Network. So have a very background in regards to food and things of that nature. And my grandmother owned a farm. She said it wasn't a farm as much as it was a place where she grew food to eat, but there was a lot of food there. So yeah, that's just my background. Thank you so much.
So good to have you here today, Parker. And I learned two things about you. So thanks for introducing yourself to the group. Is anyone else here for the first time today? If so, please come off mute and share your name and what's bringing you to the meeting.
My name is Archie Warren, and I just became interested in this group because I'm very concerned about food insecurity in my community and the health issues that derive from it, and particularly the impact that it has on children. So I'm looking forward to joining a committee and doing my part.
Being here, Archie, and I know that you will find a lot of folks within FEC that share your concerns and are interested to work with you. Anybody else here for the first time?
Hello.
I believe this is my first. Oh, Roger, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I believe this is my first time. This is Harrison Palmer. I'm with the Prince George's County Farm Bureau, Prince George's County Soil Conservation District. And so we work directly with farmers, both on the urban and the traditional landscape, helping advocate on the state level, and then with soil conservation with a lot of other practices, helping them farm in a more sustainable way, helping cover a lot of issues that they got going on. But on the Farm Bureau side, helping with advocating on policy, developing some programs within the county to help farmers and connect to resources. So happy to be a part of this group and happy to learn from everyone on what needs are still being faced from the farmers in the county.
Thanks so much for being here, Harrison. I know it may be your first council meeting, but I appreciate your active engagement in our urban farm committee. Anybody else here for the first time?
Yes, hello. My name is Roger Ledgerwood, and I'm a PG County Master Gardener. And I've been a PG County Master Gardener for 10 years now. And, you know, we educate the community about safe and effective and sustainable horticultural practices, you know, that build healthy gardens, landscapes, and communities. So I think that the groups are intertwined, if you will, in their purpose. And I'm expanding my knowledge in agriculture. So I'm glad to take part in this and see where all this food goes. You know, I really, you know, when we look at it, it's like streamlining these processes so residents, the public, can obtain healthy food. So I'm glad to be here and glad to, for the invitation from Kim. I just want to shout her out and I appreciate that. So thank you.
Thank you for being here, Roger, and so excited to hear about your work with the Master Gardeners. I think we have, I don't think you're alone. It's like a Master Gardeners for the FEC. So I'm glad you found us, and thanks, Kim, for suggesting Roger join us. Is
Thank
anyone else? Wonderful. Is anyone else here for the first time tonight? And if you are, please, tonight, gosh, this afternoon, and if you are, please feel free to share your name and what's bringing you to the meeting.
Yes, hi, Sydney, Steve McHenry. I'm with the Maryland Agricultural and Resource-Based Industry Development Corporation. We're essentially the state's agricultural finance agency. We primarily make loans to help support commercial food and fiber production and processing. We do also play a small role in helping to support commercial urban farming. So that's our bailiwick. We're not really involved in food distribution. That's outside of our mission area. But if it involves the actual production of food, and it's a commercial operation, meaning people are growing food to sell it, that is in our space. So I'm happy to be here at your invitation.
Happy to have you here, Steve. And if you guys don't know Steve, he's like one of my go-to people in the state for what's going on the legislative session related to farming. So really appreciate your expertise and partnership.
Yeah,
Anyone else?
can we
Oh,
plug
go.
our Bidco's Urban Farm Grant too? If anybody is going out for loans for urban farms, Mar Bidco has a great grant and we were lucky to be one of the recipients. So that was a great help to us as well.
Thank you for the plug. Yes. If you're getting a loan to run a farming operation, we can provide a partial matching grant up to $10,000.
There you go, guys. Mark Bidco and Steve. Good people to know. Anyone else here for the first time who wants to share their name and what's bringing you to the meeting?
Sure, I'll go next. This is Diana Torres. Like I said at our orientation, I guess had an interest in trying to become involved in organizations that provide avenues for food equity in Prince George's County. So I found that FEC accepted volunteers, and so that's what I was interested in, I guess, connecting myself to. That's it for me.
So excited to have you here, Diana, and I'm glad you found us through the gram. So glad to be connected. Anyone else here for the first time?
Hi, everyone. My name is Laura, and I'm an intern for the Food Equity Council and just started about 2 weeks ago, but I'm excited to be here and learn more and get to know everybody.
So happy to have you. Laura's our policy and advocacy intern this semester. So she's coming to us as a master's in public policy student over at UMD. And she's going to be helping us track a lot of what we talked about today related to state level bills and helping with a lot of our behind the scenes advocacy work. So we're so thrilled to have Laura on board with us. Anybody else here for the first time?
I'll jump in and say hello. Can you hear me? Okay, great. My name's Gail Myers. I was invited by Kim Rush Lynch. I work at the Prince George's Soil Conservation District and oversee the ag conservation side of that house. So just happy to tune in.
Thanks for being here today, Gail. We SCD always has such fun employees. They're so talented. So it's good to connect with you. And Kim gets MVP for recruitment.
Good to see you.
All right. Anyone else here for the first time? Okay, cool. Well, happy to have all our newbies and very much appreciative of our long-term members who are here today as well. Let somebody else in here. All right. So as I said, we're going to run through some organizational highlights, and then we're going to turn over the floor to a few of our partners, who introduced themselves a couple earlier, who will be talking a little bit about their legislative session priorities and kind of, how to connect with them and get involved if you want to follow along with what they're advocating for. So before we do that, we want to share something fun that our team put together on some of our highlights from 2022. So I'll go ahead and share my screen so everybody can see this here, but you can also see it linked in your agenda if you're following along in the notes. So this is our annual highlights graphic, I suppose, that we put together every year for FEC. Oh, hopefully y'all can see this. And I wanted to highlight a few things that, our members and the team worked on. We rescued about 155,000 pounds of food last year for our Prince George's County Food Rescue Program. And for those that are kind of new to the FEC, the Food Rescue Program is something we launched back in 2021. So it's still a really new program, and we use volunteer food rescuers to pick up food from restaurants, grocery stores, other businesses that have food that's good to eat, but that they can't sell. and then transport that food to food assistance providers and food pantries that can then get it out to folks in their community who are food insecure. So it's a program that's definitely growing, and we're excited that we had almost 1,000% increase in the food rescued from 2021 to 2022. So it was pretty exciting to see the growth in the program in that kind of that second year of operation. So many thanks to, of course, our staff who run the program, but also any of our volunteers that are on the call today who have rescued food for the program, donated food, or accepted food that was rescued and redistributed to their community. I also wanted to highlight some of the work that we've done on social media and our website. We launched a new website. I hope you guys have checked it out because our old one was crashing a lot. So this one is very, very slick. Has some really good resources on it. So that launched, it launched late last year. And we have a special portal for folks to go through to find social service resources and food assistance resources. And it can be, our entire website is translated into like the top 5 most spoken languages in the county. But then that portal that I talked about has many more languages that it can be translated into. So we're hoping that that provides like a one-stop shop for folks who are online and looking for food assistance and other resources in Prince George's to kind of support their families. But I also want to highlight our hits on Instagram and Facebook last year were over 30,000, thanks to some of the good work Heaven on our team has been doing on communications. We've also grown our food as medicine program. So we launched in 2022, I think actually it was late 2021, a new program, Prince George's Fresh, where we give folks who are food insecure and have a diet-related chronic disease diagnosis $80 a month to spend on fresh and frozen fruits and vegetables at Giant Food. And they also get access to free nutrition education and some navigation support to find other food assistance programs. We enrolled 85 people into that program in 2022. We partnered with 5 clinics throughout the county. So that pilot phase should wrap up later this year. We're excited to evaluate it and see what's going to come next for food as medicine with the FBC. We also hosted a candidates forum, which was well attended by candidates, and 4 of the candidates who attended ended up winning their county council election. So we have a link to the entire forum on the graphic if you want to check that out. And then for 2023, we are bringing back cold storage trailers to a few sites in the county. So we'll be launching 2 new cold storage trailers at food assistance provider sites this year. We're going to be doing some work on school meals, which we're really excited about, and we'll provide some opportunities for members to do some, kind of community focus groups and things like that around school meals and kind of figure out how we can improve enrollment. And we're, of course, going to be continuing to grow our food rescue program and work with food assistance providers. So that's a little bit about what we did in 2022. And I appreciate everybody who was along for the ride on it. Okay, so let's see what's next here. So I also want to share that we're reaching out to new council members currently in the county. So anyone who's been newly elected for their county council seat, but we're also reaching out to folks who were reelected for their county council seat, just to remind them of the work that we do, learn a little bit more about their priorities, kind of identify how we can work together to advocate for, folks in the county to be able to grow, sell, and choose healthier foods more easily. So if you are interested in being engaged on those county council meetings, please do let us know. And if we haven't met with your county council member yet, we can loop you into that outreach and you can attend a meeting with us. Or if you're not able to make it because of work or conflicts,
Hey,
you can at least.
Hey, yeah, so this case, it's gonna be real quick.
I think we might have somebody who came off mute, but if you have a comment for the group, please do share it. Okay, so if you want to be involved in those county council meetings, we'd love to have you. Just let us know. I talked about the new website. Do check it out. We have a couple of new announcements on our staffing structure as well. So I guess maybe I'll say like exciting news first. So we have brought on our policy and advocacy intern, Laura, who you heard from earlier. We're so excited to have her on board with us until mid-April. And we are also bringing on a school meals research and engagement specialist. She's not going to be coming on until mid-February. So we'll kind of announce that that consultant position then, and send out an introduction of our listserv. But we look forward to sharing a little bit more about the expert we're bringing on to help FEC work more on school meals work. And we also have brought on another person, Natalia Gutierrez, who is working with our Prince George's Fresh program as a health navigator. So Natalia has a great experience kind of working on community health initiatives and has been a really critical part of our team over the past 3 months since we've had, Scarlett, our health navigator, on parental leave. So she's been helping us, with fill that capacity gap and really has stepped into Scarlett's big shoes. So very excited to have our new team members on and to announce some more growth soon. Now, my announcement that I'm not so excited to share is that I'm going to be transitioning out of my role in March. So I'm moving with my family to England in mid-March, which is, an exciting new adventure, but it's very much bittersweet because I'm really sad to step away from the FEC, the good work that we've done together over the past almost, I think, 10 years that I've been working with FEC. And I'm, of course, sad to step away from like the great partnerships that we have too. So my transition planning is very much in process. We're going to be rehiring for my position, so you'll see that coming out soon. But I don't expect our work to slow down, and I do expect that we'll be able to accomplish a lot of what we already had planned and in place for this coming year. We're very lucky to have long-term members with FEC who have been with us since the beginning. We have really stable leadership. We've had our co-chairs, Chloe and Taren, in their seats for 2 years, and thank goodness they're still putting up with us. And we have staff who've been with us for quite a while too. So Julia's been with IPHI and the FEC for, I think, close to 6 years now. And really actively involved with FEC for the past 3 years. Heaven's been with us since May, as has Scarlett, and you heard about our new team members who are really bring a lot of expertise to the table and a lot of passion. Great. So I would like to share that during that recruitment process, we would love to have some members involved as we kind of look at to hire someone new to fill my shoes. So if you are interested in being involved in our recruitment process, whether it's like sharing the post on job listservs that you look at yourself, or even potentially sitting in on an interview, being like part of our interview panel, we would love to have you. We feel like, the more members we have involved in our recruitment process, the better fit we'll get for a future FEC director. We also ask that you help spread the word when we do have that job post ready. So we'll be sharing it and would love for you to kind of help, blast it out so it gets as many views as possible. And we would love to have you involved in the onboarding process when we hire somebody. So just, an opportunity to talk to the new staff member, kind of share what you do, what you like about FEC, what you want to see improved, and just help them kind of get into the work and get moving as quickly as possible. So yeah, that's a little bit about the transition process. And if you guys have any questions about transition planning or concerns, we are more than happy to answer those. And thank you for your notes in the chat. It's been a very exciting 10 years, and I'm super proud of what we've accomplished together. And I hope you guys will still email me after I move to England. Okay, so the last item we have here is a note on our 2023 quarterly meeting schedule. In part because we've had some, we're going to have some transition on our team, and in part because we've had lower attendance over the past year or so with our monthly meetings. We're moving to a quarterly meeting schedule. And we're hoping that our quarterly meetings can be, at least some of them, in person. We kind of get the sense that there's an appetite to getting out of sweatpants and, showing up face to face and talking to people for the FEC members. So we're going to try that out starting in April. We'll have our first kind of in-person quarterly meeting. And we're also hoping that these quarterly meetings can provide more opportunities for folks to really learn about specific issues and topics in the county's food system. So we're brainstorming ideas for speakers and formats now. So if you have ideas about how we could structure those quarterly meetings, we would love to hear from you. So please do feel free to share your ideas with our team or over the Google group or whatnot. Okay, so with that, if no one has questions about the organizational updates, we will go ahead and hop over to our partner legislative session updates. I'll just pause for 5 seconds if anyone has a question.
When's the next quarterly meeting?
Oh yeah, thank you, Preston. It's going to be in April, and I believe we're going probably to keep it on the fourth Tuesday, but we probably will be sending out an email considering the in-person timing, and just seeing if like 3 to 5 works for members for an in-person meeting, knowing that people will have to commute and whatnot. Yeah, and so that would be April 25th is the fourth Tuesday where we have our meetings.
I'm on the phone. Can I speak or?
Oh, go for it. Yeah, thanks, Ben. I think that's Ben.
I'm just wondering, have you considered a hybrid format?
Yeah, that's a great question. So our steering committee did talk about a hybrid format, and we felt like if we could find the right place with the right technology in place, that we were very much willing to do a hybrid. So if members feel like hybrid is, kind of something that you'd like us to prioritize, I think we can keep that in mind as we look for meeting spaces.
Great. I know it's a much bigger lift, but some of us have a greater risk about and can't really do in-person meetings. So.
Yeah, and thanks for bringing it up, Ben, and completely respect that. And we can prioritize spaces in our search for a meeting home that allow that have like a the technology needed to do a hybrid meeting. Any other questions about that quarterly meeting format or any of the other updates? Okay, great. Hearing none. So stay posted. More info to come over the listserv about that quarterly meeting, and we will kind of ask too about like the meeting time and location, and we'll make sure that we look for some hybrid meeting locations as well. Okay, or rather that we prioritize a meeting location that can support a hybrid format for the meeting. Okay, great. So for this next section of the agenda, we've invited a number of partners that the FEC has worked with over the years who are kind of deeply involved with the Maryland General Assembly and who are active, kind of in advocating for different parties during the legislative session. So I am not an expert on Maryland's legislative session, but I will tell you from my limited experience engaging over the past few years, it is fast and furious. It moves very quickly. There are so many bills that people are kind of tracking and that are introduced. It feels like at a dizzying pace. And it can be a little challenging to engage for the first time. So we wanted, last January, we started doing this, and I hope we can continue it for future years. But we started inviting partners who have a lot of expertise and a lot of connections and kind of the advocacy and lobbying know-how to share a little bit about what they're tracking for the legislative session this coming year, and kind of share how you can also get involved with them. Now, the Food Equity Council also advocates for bills that align with our interests and our priorities. So this is also an opportunity for us to all hear about the different bills that our partners are kind of interested in, and figure out, okay, what's really important to the FEC. Where do we want to invest our limited resources and capacity, and really pushing for a policy, and what's maybe not as relevant to us, but we want to encourage our members who are interested in it to engage with the organizations that are here and that can support them in their advocacy. So that's the kind of why behind this section of our agenda. Now we have a number of partners here. We have folks from Marbidco, you heard from Steve, Maryland and Prince George's County Farm Bureau, Maryland Hunger Solutions, PG Changemakers. Let's see, I think other people on my list that I'm forgetting here, folks who are very passionate about like composting. SMATIC is represented. And if I'm forgetting anybody else, please know it is just because I have a bad memory, not due to how excited we are for you to be here. So I will go ahead and turn it over to them. I do want to point out that we are tracking these bills in a legislative tracker tool that Laura is very generously keeping updated for us. So I'll go ahead and drop a link to that in chat. So we will do our best to capture everything that our partners share today in this tracker tool, and we'll also update this tracker with a description of the bill that they're looking at and when its hearing date is. So, if you or if you want to kind of take the lead on writing testimony on behalf of FEC or for yourself, you can have a place that you can go and find out more. And I'll also talk a little bit about the other opportunities there are to learn more about what's going on with legislative session related to food from different partner groups. So with that, I will go ahead and turn it over to our speakers. And I believe we have, let's see here. I think we have American Heart Association up first, but I unfortunately, Laura Hale could not make it the last minute. So what I might do is hop over to Maryland Hunger Solutions, and JD, if you are able to, I might ask you to share a bit about the Healthy School Meals for All Coalition as well. If not, we can certainly provide that update later on.
Sure. I will do my best with that because that's not really my wheelhouse, but thank you so much, Sydney. Hi, everyone. I'm JD Robinson. I'm the program coordinator for SNAP at Maryland Hunger Solutions. And really, I want to be focusing on a handful of bills today in regards to SNAP benefits, but also touching on a couple of other pieces of legislation around the federal nutrition space as it comes to the programs that we work with here in Maryland. So first, I want to touch on two bills that don't currently have a bill number yet. We are still kind of in the middle to late stages of bills getting finally pushed out through the assembly and getting their first hearing scheduled. So just so you know, some of these don't have numbers quite yet. First and foremost is Delegate Solomon and Senator Gazzoni supporting a full funding of the Maryland Meals for Achievement program. This was legislation that was passed in 2018 that provides additional meal options for school breakfast throughout the state. It has seen increasing amounts of funding over the past couple of years, and this would provide full funding. Fiscal note is quite large, but we're looking forward to see this program that we have seen really wonderful success in across the board see full funding. Next is a student SNAP bill. This has been introduced last year and folks are coming at it again. This would basically be a continuation of pandemic era eligibility flexibilities for students looking to get on SNAP, essentially extending the ability for students to become eligible just by doing federal work study, removing the work requirement. This one, I believe, had a pretty large fiscal note last year and also is somewhat contingent on some federal movement in that realm as well. Kind of all of this with the farm bill looming in the background as we kind of look to Congress and DC as to see what may happen in that realm. A couple of other ones I really want to point two, first and foremost, and one that we're really excited about is EBT skimming. So this is addressing the frightening amount of fraud that we've seen across the board in the past 2 years. While you may have seen that there has been a federal fix being introduced by our thankfully by our own Representative Ruppersberger, this is going to be retroactive, whereas the federal option provides reimbursement for anyone that's had their benefits stolen from October 1st, 2022 through October 1st of 2024. This goes specific to state legislation and goes all the way back to January 1st of 2020, and also includes cash benefits as well, whereas the federal option is purely for SNAP. We're really looking forward to this. There's actually 2 versions in the General Assembly right now, one from Senator Hester that does have a bill number, Senate Bill 2. And the other coming in from Senator Kramer. That one does not quite have a number quite yet. Both of them are good simply because they provide an option to reimburse stolen benefits. We're actually going to be meeting with both offices just to see if we can bring everybody together, get on the same page, because there are some pieces from both bills that we like, and if we just get the 2 combined, we'll be really happy with the results there. Last but not least is a bill from Delegate Charkoudian. This is House Bill 111 and Senate Bill 26 from Senator Augustine. This is going to basically provide categorical eligibility across multiple programs. Categorical eligibility is basically saying if you're eligible for this, we'll make you automatically enrolled in another program. This is looking to similar systems that they have in Massachusetts. It's a Medicaid program called FastPass, basically just getting kids enrolled in other programs if they're eligible for Medicaid. A side note for this bill is that it's just kind of hoping to de-silo a lot of pieces of state agencies. So, Office of Home Energy Programs, Department of Human Services, basically kind of forcing them all to communicate with each other on a greater level, hopefully reducing the amount of overhead applicants have when they're just trying to sign up for these programs and not have to send in application after application after application and just say, listen, you're eligible for this one. Let's just get you into everything else. I'll do my best to touch on the School Meals for All bill. This is legislation that we pursued last year, kind of in light of seeing other states do it as well, basically provide school meals for every child in the state. I do believe we have coalition meetings happening on Mondays, either at 9 or at 10. This is more my colleague Julia Gross's wheelhouse. She's our child nutrition person, absolutely wonderful at it. I probably should know more than I currently do. Yes, thank you, Heaven. At 10 a.m. Please contact myself or Julia. I'll put her email in the chat if you want to invite to those meetings. That coalition is, I think, growing by the day, and we're really excited to see where that legislation goes this year because with a lot of the pandemic era flexibilities and waivers coming down for both child nutrition and SNAP, this year is going to be really, really major as far as making sure those programs are shored up here in the state. And if you have any questions, happy to take them now, or I'll just throw my email in the chat. Thanks.
Thank you, JD, and thanks for being such a good sport with the last minute healthy school meals for all fund. Does anyone have questions about the bills that JD shared? I know it's a lot of info. We're going to capture it all in the tracker and send it out to you guys afterwards as well. Okay, I'll give 5 seconds for folks to pipe up with questions. Awesome. Thank you so much, JD. Okay, next we're going to have SMATIC share. So I think we have Christine here from SMATIC. I'm not sure if Shelby's here as well, but I'll hand it over to the SMATIC crew.
Hi, Sydney. I actually don't think we were presenting today. I'm just here as a participant watching along. What can I share really quick? I don't know if I can share anything off the top of my head. I haven't been feeling well.
Christina, you're fine. Okay, I was emailing with Shelby, but I think I may have gotten my times mixed up and she may be hopping on later.
So sorry about that, but I'm so glad to be here.
I'd be like, oh no. Sorry about that, Christina. Thanks. I'm glad you're here as well. Okay, well, let me go ahead and hand it over to Steve from our BigCo then for some updates on their priorities.
Thank you very much, Sydney. I don't have a whole lot in the way of bills to talk about, but I can talk for a second about what's going on in Annapolis. It's the first year of a 4-year term. About 25% of the legislators are brand new to the legislature, or their delegates have moved up to the state Senate. Been some reorganization in leadership and committee jurisdiction in the Senate. So some new committee chairs there. In the House, Delegate Regina Boyce from Baltimore City is now the chair of the Agriculture and Natural Resources Committee in the House Environment and Transportation Committee, and her committee deals with all the agriculture bills. So many of the bills dealing with food, with how food is grown, would be in her committee. Other committees would deal with some of the other social issues that have already been addressed today. So a lot going on. New governor, of course, as you all know. And as of last week, there's a new Secretary of Agriculture, Kevin Edens. And he's well known to many of us. He's the founder of Grow and Fortify, the group that works with all the craft beverage groups, the wineries and breweries and distilleries. And he's now moving in as the chief at MDA, and he's very accessible. I expect many of you will be seeing him over the coming months. Another change that's significant this year with the new administration is the state agencies are going to be more engaged on pieces of legislation that actually affect their operations. That was a little bit interesting over the last few years, where the outside advocates had to carry a lot of the advocacy water for the agencies, and that's going to be changing. And I mention that because one of the bills that's been reintroduced from last year, the bill that would have created the statewide urban ag grant fund program, that bill has been reintroduced by Delegate Melissa Wells from Baltimore City. This is a bill, legislation a couple of years ago was authorized but not funded, that established a grant program only for Baltimore City for urban ag. And so many of us last year, including Sydney, you and others in Prince George's County, were involved in a large group of stakeholders that was trying to move the needle in urban ag. There were 3 major bills that we were advocating for. 2 of them passed. One has created funding for 2 new positions at University of Maryland Extension devoted to urban agriculture, and presumably that money is in the budget, and UME will be hiring for those positions this summer because the money will not be available until July. And then the other bill that passed creates a state urban ag, water and power infrastructure grant fund. That bill passed. The governor's put the money in the budget, $500,000 a year, beginning in FY24, the year starting July 1st, for 4 years. MDA is administering that fund, and MDA has been working hard to get ready to launch that program. So that leaves us with the third bill that we thought was going to pass. And talking with many of you last year, you felt it was a little imperfect in some ways, but the legislation has been reintroduced in the form that it passed the House last year. And so the Department of Ag, since this time last year, has been really ramping up its efforts with respect to supporting urban ag. Bill Tharp is the program manager for urban agriculture at the department. He's done a great job. He will be managing programs that you may have heard about relative to supporting small and urban farms. And presumably he will be managing the new Urban Ag Grant Fund program, which I suspect some sort of legislation is going to pass this year. The bill is introduced, provides for a statewide Urban Ag Grant Fund program with $250,000 for 4 years. I recognize that some of you think that's too little, and it may well be too little. There's some concern with the bill as introduced about the composition of the Grant Review Board. MDA recognizes those concerns, and as my understanding, the department plans to show up at the hearing, which is scheduled and I don't have in front of me. And they will be offering amendments, as I understand it, to make the Grant Review Board more practical in terms of the stakeholders that are represented there. Obviously, people that are actually going to receive funding from the program cannot sit on the grant review board, for example. There would be an ethical conflict there. And so I would encourage you to reach out. You can actually probably reach out to me if the Food Council has any direct concerns with this particular bill. I'd be happy to relay them to the department. MDA is going to be leading on most aspects of urban agriculture support. I think, as you all know, urban agriculture involves more than just commercial farming. It involves community gardens. It involves training programs for youth, food distribution efforts. There's a whole lot going on in the space of urban agriculture under that, those two words. And so MDA is pretty well equipped to deal with that, and has other programming around, food in schools, certified farm enterprise program, things of that sort. So MDA will be taking the lead on the urban ag efforts. Marbitco will continue to support commercial urban agriculture, as you heard at the beginning of the meeting. So I think I've talked long enough. I'm happy to take any questions if there are any.
Thanks so much, Steve. Any questions for Steve on the bills and the kind of priorities and updates they shared?
That bill number is House Bill 152 by Delegate Wells.
Hey, this is Liz. You guys know me. I'm always going to advocate for more money for the urban farmers unapologetically. So I was wondering if certainly we want to see it pass this year. So we don't want to be too overzealous in that. But I was wondering if there were any mechanisms that you know of or that we can recommend that would allow us to expand on that 250,000 a year, for example, a minimum of 200, but perhaps if there's a surplus in XYZ budget, or if, transfer taxes, or, some other mechanism where if we do really well, they can contribute more to it.
Yeah, actually, I probably should have mentioned this. Two other big things are going on this year, which are very unusual. One is the legislature, for the first time in 100 years, has the ability to move money around in the budget because of a constitutional amendment that passed 2 elections ago. So that's new and different. The other thing is that the state of Maryland has something like a $5 billion budget surplus. That's almost unheard of. In fact, it is unheard of in my lifetime. And so there's quite a lot of money available. The new administration did not bring down all of its funding priorities in the budget bill the governor introduced last Friday. So he's going to be bringing more things down. He's going to be working with legislative leaders on that. So we expect that there will be probably multiple supplemental budgets introduced to spend some of that surplus. Now, everybody believes a recession is coming. They're planning for a rainy day. They've got nearly $2 billion in the rainy day fund. That money's going to stay there, I think, and it's prudent that they do that. But there may be resources available. So I think it would be okay for you all as advocates for that bill to show up and say, hey, this probably is not enough money. We would like to work with the legislature and perhaps increasing the funding for the 4-year period, and explain how those funds would be used. I know there's a lot of concern around land access and how funds would be spent in that regard. That's a huge issue, and may not be resolved within this bill. In fact, it probably won't be resolved within this particular piece of legislation. But I would feel free to advocate for a higher number, and this is probably the year to do that, as I just outlined.
Awesome. Thanks, Steve. And then my other question was around, I can't remember the bill number, but there was a bill about that would create a mechanism for local jurisdictions, county or city, to create urban ag incentive zones or opportunity zones, where it allowed them to sort of implement some special regulations for urban agriculture. And that one, I believe, didn't pass. Maybe somebody else, Harrison, maybe might know the one that I'm talking about.
I vaguely remember it. I remember it had problems and it could not pass. I'm not aware that it's going to be reintroduced.
Okay, thanks.
Helpful questions. Anyone else have questions for Steve? In a few more seconds.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, appreciate you coming and sharing.
Sure.
All right, and you can find, we also you dropped a link for our tracker tool, and we do have that urban ag grant fund bill, HB 152, in that tracker tool. So do check that out. And thank you for the offer, Steve, to kind of take our any concerns we have about that bill or proposed changes forward. And so we'll kick that back to our urban ag committee, and we'll follow up with some suggestions.
And I should say too, and I know you're going to hear from the Farm Bureau, but Maryland Farm Bureau is very actively engaged in this bill. Colby Ferguson was a real big help last year with the legislation. So want to give a shout out to them as well.
Yeah, thank you so much. And Colby should be joining us. He's in his commuting, so put him on at the end. So hopefully he can share updates soon. So let's go to PG Changemakers next. So Parker, we'd love to hear about the priorities that you guys have that you're advocating for.
Sure. I'll be a little bit quicker. We are focusing more kind of holistically in regards to the state and the county. We're actively following the rent stabilization bill that just got out of committee that was put forth by Crystal Orieva, specifically in relation to making sure that residents are able to stay in their homes. That's very extremely important to us. We're also following legislation on the state level on any bills related to legalization. I know they're kind of drafting how they want it to look in relation to selling, distributing, things of that nature, particularly with the lens to focus on racial equity in the actual selling and producing and distributing, as well as the distribution of funds. And then we're also focusing on the state level PG 401-23, which is the Economic Development Independent Innovation Agency of Prince George's County. Just an interesting agency when we already have an EDC, and just kind of looking at like, why are we creating a whole other entity that can't really, like, why aren't we focusing on replenishing or redoing or revitalizing the EDC, and just making sure that that's not just another funnel of money that could go somewhere else, right? And as well as 501c3 as well, which talks about just kind of the Prince George's County Office of Integrity and Establishment for Prince George's County Public Schools. Personally, I'm very concerned about that from the perspective of Prince George's County's public school system is politicized on both sides. If you've been following the school system, both sides kind of politicize it to the point in where there's a lot of harm that's done as opposed to moving forward. And so I'm just concerned about an additional level of integrity and compliance that is not directly in the hands of the people of Prince George's County, that is put on by, people in politics. Again, that's concerning to me. So that's what we're following in depth at this moment. Oh, and also any land, and also any land and zoning issues, particularly there's on the county level, there are some zoning issues that got pulled up and pulled back and things of that nature. And then on the state level, there are joint zoning issues that come through Montgomery County and Prince George's. And so we're following those bills as well.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Parker. It's really helpful. And we'll definitely follow up with you for the bill numbers for any, I know they're kind of emerging, right? But any of those land use bills and zoning bills that you're tracking, we can add those to our tracker too, so we can keep an eye on those. Obviously, hugely influential for food. Yeah, so any questions for PG Changemakers?
Hey, this is Liz again. I think that I definitely want to follow all the things that you're following as well. So great job pulling that all together. I also wanted to talk about the marijuana legalization, especially the cultivation and social equity aspects. I mean, the social equity was a disgrace from the beginning, and it continues to be. And one thing that I was glad to see that they introduced a home cultivation rule, because that especially helps a lot of vulnerable patients that don't have the funding, or it's just not affordable to always go to dispensaries. But last I heard, the limit on that was 2 plants, which I think opens a lot of people up. Like, it's almost like entrapment, like it opens you up to home cultivation, but most people are not going to stay under 2 plants because, once you start doing clones and different things, that's just not really feasible, especially if you're a patient. So I think that opens a lot of people up to more criminalization and just further, all the things that we want to get away from.
Agreed. I was thinking about that as well. I know in other states, I want to say it's higher than one, not even I want to say, I know that it's higher than 2 plants.
Yeah, it's 12.
I just say, yeah. I'll just say that I agree with you. And I know that Senator Carter had a lot of really good legislation that was always getting chopped and screwed or just pushed to the side in regards to racial equity and distribution and things of that nature. So I'm hoping with her being over the Baltimore County delegation, she just has a little bit more firepower to push kind of her legislation through.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for that. And Liz, I'm not sure if that bill's in play or if it's already been, I'm not sure what's happening with it, but please let us know if we can, kind of add to the tracker tool. Any other questions for Parker about what PG Changemakers is tracking or advocating for? Give it a few seconds. Okay, great. Thank you so much. And thanks for the, the accountability and oversight role that you guys are playing. It's really critical at the county level and at the state level. So we appreciate your good work. Okay, Grant. So last up, I believe, is our partners at Farm Bureau. So I know Colby was going to join, but he's also commuting. So I'm not sure, Colby, if you're on your phone with us. And if not, Harrison, I may be asking you to share on behalf of the county's Farm Bureau chapter, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's not a problem. And I can speak a little bit to what I know Maryland Farm Bureau is pushing, at least in the short term. Something that we're both tracking is, like Steve had mentioned earlier, the Urban Ag Grant Fund. I appreciate Liz's comment about the funding of that and how much money needs to be in there, what should and what is currently proposed. So I don't believe that is scheduled until February 8th, but that's something we're tracking and working on to figure out how much money we can put in there. I also agree, Steve had mentioned the friendliness to urban agriculture and the Department of Ag. I think particularly under Kevin Addick's leadership, the new Secretary of Agriculture, that's going to become a huge priority. And if you want someone who's going to get that done, Kevin, I think is the one to do it. So that's hopeful in the change on the MDA side. Something else that we're tracking, we submitted testimony today for Senate Bill 34, the state ombudsman for value-added agriculture, that will provide a person housed at MDA who's going to be a go-to for farmers who are looking to get into value-added ag or in value-added ag. That'll help kind of clean up that pathway and go through some of the regulations on the state level to make it more clear to folks who are participating in that from the regulatory side. So like I said, that went up today. Senate Bill 29, establishment requirements for Baltimore Soil Conservation District. That's something we're tracking as well. It's going to open up a lot of urban agriculture support from USDA. And the farm bill was mentioned earlier that is coming up this year. All of the conservation funding that goes into soil conservation districts from USDA is through the farm bill. So it's something that we're tracking. A lot of that funding is being focused into urban ag here, especially in Prince George's, as well as Baltimore City. So that is going to be another huge benefit for that locally produced food. Reworking the Food System Resiliency Council, Senate Bill 124, that puts more focus into who is going to be running that. And then there was one more, Senate Bill 12. I spoke with Liz about this a little bit, that we were talking about some of the business requirements when you're filing. Family farms get a discount, and that's only on owned or rented agriculturally assessed land, which puts urban farmers at a disadvantage. So Senate Bill 12 takes that away and gives that basically discount, takes away the filing fee for all LLCs, LLPs, and small businesses in Maryland. So that would be a huge plus to alleviate that. We're tracking a few other things as they're coming through, but as everyone has mentioned, it's a crazy time in everyone's world. So as things come up, if they're not on our radar, if they're not something that we have talked about, or if you have concerns or would like another voice to push something that you're thinking of, I'll drop my email in the chat. Farm Bureau is definitely willing to advocate for and work with farmers to make sure everyone's needs are met in the right way. So that's all I've got right now. But like I said, I'll drop my email in the chat, and we're happy to chat more.
Thanks
Hey,
so much, Harrison. Oh, go ahead, Liz.
How can folks get involved with the review for the current farm bill? Just the length of it and the complexity and how much it changes over time. How do folks best utilize their voice to speak up and advocate for stuff in the farm bill?
That's an excellent question. I regret that Colby is not here. He is the legislative coordinator for Maryland Farm Bureau, and so Farm Bureau, the American Farm Bureau Federation, has a huge voice in that. But the majority of the Farm Bill funding goes to food assistance benefits. Only a very small portion actually goes to conservation and farms. So that piece is designated, like I said, through voices like American Farm Bureau. But pushing through Maryland to get to that level is going to be the best option. So I would contact Colby Ferguson for sure when it comes to that higher level push on the Farm Bill.
Last question. I'm sorry. Do they have any like summaries of like the current, where certain issues stand and the current funding and any like hot button items? Are there summaries of that they update?
So I know Maryland Farm Bureau puts out their legislative hotlines every week. So that does summarize a lot of what's happening at the local level. I don't know if American Farm Bureau Federation puts out anything to that level.
Okay, thanks.
Liz, I would recommend you join the Farm Bureau, and you'll get all that information provided you electronically, and then you'll find places to go through that membership in the Farm Bureau.
Okay, good. Yeah, I'm on the Prince George's Farm Bureau, but I'm not sure if I'm in the Maryland, but I am on the email list. Thanks.
Yep. If you sign up for Prince George's, you're signed up for Maryland, but I can sort of direct you if that helps through getting on that hotline and some of that information.
And that's helpful to know that, you're kind of interested in hearing more, Liz. We kind of tried our best to engage with the Farm Bill during the kind of the last time it was up, and did a lot of programming around it, and submit some testimony and whatnot. It is an extremely, it's huge, and it's really time consuming to be involved, and it's challenging. I think as a smaller organization to make an impact. So I do kind of, echo what Steve and Harrison shared about kind of engaging with organizations that have a larger voice and share your priorities and values, or even like engaging in like coalition work to impact the farm bill. Maybe that's something that our team can do, is kind of look into more of the large organizations, the coalitions that are really investing a lot of time and energy into impacting the Farm Bill, and share those resources out with our members. So you guys have a few different options for kind of who to engage with and who to go to for updates, for those issue briefs that you talked about, and so to kind of lead in on any campaigns that they're working on.
Sydney, I would also add the National Sustainable Ag Coalition, NSAC, advocates for small farmers very effectively. Future Harvest CASA in Maryland is sort of the Maryland affiliate of NSAC. So that might be another resource for you folks.
Yeah, super helpful. Thank you, Steve. Okay, any other questions for Harrison? And last call, Colby, if you're here on the phone. Okay, great. And Harrison dropped his email in the chat as well. So we'll coordinate with Colby and try to do like an email recap of bills that Farm Bureau state level is kind of pushing for that Harrison didn't cover. But thank you so much, Harrison, and thanks for the good work you're doing at our county level, and for providing that liaising between our county chapter and the state level to keep us on the loop. All right. So unless anyone else, oh, I'm so sorry. I think we had Ben on the phone potentially to talk about a composting. Ben, can you, are you still with us? And can you share a little bit about what you're tracking at the state level? And Ben, if you're speaking, we can't hear you. You might be on mute. Okay, so I will also get Ben's info, and we'll send that out over an email update as well. So Ben's tracking some kind of interesting, kind of composting focused bills at the state level. And I know that, a few of our members will be very interested in hearing more about that. All right, so thank you everyone who joined us for Let's Live updates. Very happy to have you as partners. And of course, I appreciate the good work that you're doing too, and advocating on behalf of our county food and farm stakeholders. So our next agenda item is on the county budget listening session and hearing process. So this kind of kicks off our county's budget process every year. And I want to invite, Julia, do you want to cover this, or I can also cover this? I can cover it if you'd like. Okay, I'll cover it. So this listening session is something that's hosted by our county executive every year in the county, and it's an opportunity for residents and stakeholders to talk to the county executive, like, verbally through the kind of real-time listening session, or in writing and follow-up, and just sort of share what you think is important for the county to fund in its fiscal year 2024 budget. So the county exec takes the feedback that they get, or she gets rather, from residents, and she then uses it to shape the budget that she sends to county council, the preliminary budget, and then county council can kind of like remove stuff and do some other stuff with the budget before they pass it. So it's kind of, it's kind of the beginning of the process. It's scheduled for tomorrow. Sorry for the late notice, but it's scheduled for tomorrow at 5 this year. However, if you want to do written testimony, you still have until Friday to send that in. FEC has been, I would say, fairly engaged in the budget hearing process for the past few years. We will look at our testimony that we submitted last year and probably just kind of freshen it up, so we can share that with you guys, over email, in case you have any kind of, really important changes you'd like to see made. We'll get our steering committee to approve it, and we'll, probably submit it on Friday this year. But it's just the beginning, and there's going to be a lot of other opportunities to engage with the county budget process through county council, through the agency hearings that they have on their individual budget pieces. So it's definitely not the last call on this. We are more than happy to help anyone who wants to engage with the county's budget process for the first time, and kind of share, what we've learned over the year, support you in advocating for your priorities in the budget. So do, feel free to reach out to our team if you'd like some support or just talk about stuff and kind of learn about what we've done in the past. So that's our kind of budget hearing update. And I think I see Ben. Ben, if you want to share the legislative update that that I mentioned
Sure.
about composting. Okay,
Yes.
awesome.
Sorry,
Go
I
back.
heard you. I heard you. I was on my phone outside, but it wouldn't unmute. So
Oh no, well, happy to have you. It's kind of tricky on
Well,
Zoom.
I want to thank all the other partners that presented. That was all very, very interesting. And actually, the first bill I wanted to mention, I'll be kind of covering for Colby because he was a huge help last year. Although it didn't get passed, he was very supportive. So let's see. I'm just going to talk about 3 bills about composting, which I think some of you know I'm a big advocate for the positive role that composting plays in the food system and the bigger role it can play. But so the first bill is an on-farm composting change in some regulations that's a little bit wonky, but it's important to the farmers and others. So currently, the state's regulations on composting have a special exemption for farmers where anybody that in general off farm, anyone that composts on more than 5,000 square feet, which is about 70 foot on a side, pretty small area, has to get a permit from MDE, which is a pretty extensive process. But for farmers, everything except for food waste can the exemption goes up to 40,000 square feet, almost an acre. But for some reason they left the food waste exemption at 5,000, and a number of farmers find that very onerous and encouraged their representatives to introduce legislation last year, which was last year and will this year be is sponsored by Delegate Shetty from Montgomery County and Senator Gallion from Harford County, and it's one of those little pieces of fresh air. Delegate Shetty is a fairly progressive Democrat, and Senator Gallion's a Republican. And someone could correct me. He might be the only farmer in the Senate, but in any case, it got through the Senate last year. Almost making great progress in the House until at the very last minute, MDE came into a subcommittee meeting and shot it down. So it's going to be reintroduced in the same form this year, and hopefully will be more successful. I'm working with a diverse group that is supporting that. That includes various environmental groups and farmers mostly from Montgomery and Howard County at this point, and Institute for Local Self-Reliance and others. So there's no number yet, but that's true for a lot of bills, as you've heard. The other 2 bills I'm aware of that supporting composting, there was a bill that was actually passed, I believe, last year, not the year before. And this is a Delegate Charkoudian sponsoring it, who you've already heard from, Montgomery County again, which will the bill that was passed provides the creation of a program to give grants for school composting programs, either actually composting with school gardens or at least separating compostables and having them hauled off to composting facilities. It was passed, but without any funding. So this year, the effort is to put some funding in there. Again, no number for that yet. And the third bill was also a new bill last year, which is proposing something that other states, I don't remember off the top of my head which ones they are, do this, would create a surcharge on waste that's on the tipping fee of waste at landfills that would then go to a grant program for composting facilities. And that could also, that would, with a set aside within that for on-farm composting. So that is sponsored by Delegate Boyce. And it will also be reintroduced the same form as last year. I'm not as up on how far it got last year. There's some aspects of it that were a little controversial, so waste haulers don't particularly like it, but it works well in other states. So I'll make sure that the FEC gets more information as we get bill numbers and hearing dates, etc. So, and as I said, on-farm composting, Colby from the Farm Bureau was really helpful with his testimony. So.
Awesome. That's super helpful. Thank you, Ben. Does anyone have questions for Ben about those 3 bills?
Oh, I'd just like to say I was at the Urban Farm Support Committee meeting yesterday, last week. Harrison, I noticed your chat message, and I will be emailing you, but I've been a little busy the days since then.
Hey, Ben,
Thanks,
are there
Ben.
any I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Liz.
I was gonna say, are there any opportunities for the farmers to add new income streams with this compost? Like if, for example, they have land that they can partner with some waste haulers or composters to actually turn into compost and add that as like an additional income stream for them?
That would be possible under this bill. That, in fact, I think I've never established this, but I think the main push came from Montgomery County, where unlike Prince George's County, which has one of or the largest composting facility on the East Coast, Montgomery County has none of its own, is at least the government run. So they're trying to figure out how to close down an incinerator and also deal with all of that trash. So composting is on the table, but it's also really hard to find land in a jurisdiction like Montgomery County. So the idea of increasing on farm composting is pretty attractive to this county government. Otherwise, they just send it over to our facility. And see, Harrison, were you? No.
Nope. I was just going to say, I'm glad you remembered. We're definitely interested in being a part of that. We've had a lot of interest, folks wanting to do on-farm composting and food waste, and partnering with other organizations to make that happen. So I'm glad to hear that y'all are still rolling, and we're happy to be a part of that.
Great. Let's talk.
Awesome. Anyone else have a question for Ben? Okay, great. Thank you so much, Ben. Thanks for the advocacy you're doing and for sharing with us. And I know we'll I think have a number of people reaching out to you. Great. So I know, yeah. So I guess I just want to make sure no one has questions about the county exec's budget listening session that's coming up that wants to be engaged. So I'll just wait a few seconds to hear if there's any questions about that. It is a very, I'd say, like friendly meeting as far as like listening sessions go. So if you think you want to like try your hand at influencing the council's, the county's budget, it's a great environment to do that, and you'll be surrounded by many different diverse priorities that are being presented. So it's kind of fun to hear what everybody brings to the table.
So you said you were going to distribute some information by email?
So yeah, so what we'll do is we'll send out the FEC's like written testimony. We'll probably just like spruce up what we submitted last year. It was a lot of it was around funding to support, like we had like farmers and food assistance providers in there. So we'll send that out. And if anyone, if you have something like burning that you feel is really important to include, we'll ask you to share that ASAP, and then we'll send it to our steering committee for approval so we can get something submitted by Friday at 5 p.m. And I do apologize, and we're kind of late in the game this year. It kind of snuck up on us this year, and I kind of thought it was coming up like in February or something. So I appreciate people's fast review and turnaround if you have any parties that aren't included in advance. So yeah, I guess keep an eye on the Google group for that. So if you're not on our Google group, please sign up ASAP. I might, let's see, I might ask one of our team members to drop some info about the Google group in the chat for folks who are not yet signed up for it. Okay, awesome, thank you. Okay, so next agenda item is just about committee and event updates. So on our agenda, we have a chart where we've listed our committees for this year. I'll go ahead and share my screen so everybody can see it here. And also drop a link in the chat. And this is just basically a written chart that describes what our committees do, who's leading them, when they meet, and who to contact if you want to get involved. So I encourage you guys to review this if you're not part of a committee yet, and jump in by contacting the point of contact to join a committee. So I also wanted to invite any of our committee chairs that are on the call today to share any updates that you feel like are important for members to know about from your committee. So this is totally optional, but if you are an FEC committee chair and you want to share an update, we'd be happy to hear from you. So I'll go ahead and pause and see if any of our committee chairs want to share what's going on and anything that they think people may want to know about when they get involved.
I can share a little something about the Farmers Market Support Committee. We actually have a meeting this Friday at 10 a.m. and it's virtual if you want to attend. And the purpose of this meeting is to gather some folks in the county who could help support a marketing effort for the farmers market to promote farmers markets throughout farmers market seasons and potentially year round. So that's our priority right now. And we're also going to be talking about vendor opportunities for folks who are vendors at farmers markets and looking for other opportunities. So if you're interested in joining us, I will drop my email in the chat, and I am more than happy to forward that invitation to you. So yeah.
Thanks so much, Heaven. And Heaven is the point of contact for that committee. I think I need to update our chart, so apologies for some of this info being out of date. We'll get to it. Do any other committee chairs want to share any updates from your committee or anything about folks who might want to get, anything that would be of interest for folks who might want to get involved?
The Food Assistance Provider Support Committee. That's a small group of folks that meets roughly monthly to help us kind of plan and coordinate and steer some of the work we're doing to support food assistance providers. So that includes hosting this monthly call series, as well as putting out additional resources and technical assistance for those folks. That group has also been helping us with this new cold storage opportunity. I'm not sure if we've shared this with this group previously, but we have funding to purchase 2 new cold storage trailers similar to the initiative we worked on in 2020/2021, where we brought 3 cold storage trailers to the county. So that group is helping us kind of vet through applicants for that opportunity and decide where those 2 cold storage trailers will be located. So we'll be sure to have more information on that committee likely in the coming, and that kind of project in the coming weeks. So if anyone's interested in getting involved in that committee, feel free to drop your contact information in the chat and I can get you looped in.
And then the other committee I have listed here, again, this chart is a little bit old, but we included some information on this Prince George's County Food Rescue Committee, which was like a idea that we wanted to launch. I think we added this maybe 6 months ago or something, and it didn't really take off. We didn't really see that there was that much interest from our members in participating in a food rescue committee. If that's shifted, if that's changed, if folks are still interested in joining, I would love to put that together. So feel free to reach out to me directly if you wanted to chat more about what that could look like. But that's kind of a dream of mine, and I would love some participation and input from our FEC members. So I can drop my email in the chat if anyone wants to chat more.
Awesome. Thanks for those updates, Julia. All right.
And-
Anyone else? Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, one thing, my Zoom is being funky right now and I'm listed as Heaven for some reason, but I'm just going to drop my email in the chat. But that's me commenting, not Heaven.
Oh, Zoom. All right. Thank you for those updates, Julia. Do any other committee chairs or leaders want to share updates?
Yeah, I can share for the urban farm support. So we don't necessarily have an update on the updates to the tax for urban farmers, the tax right now, but hopefully we'll be able to share something soon. We identified that a lot of what folks are speaking that they need is really assistance with navigating the permitting and what you are and aren't allowed to do, whether you're ag assessed or you're still under that limitation and not really an urban farmer if you fall somewhere in between there. So we're looking at either like a matrix or some type of path so people can understand and make decisions on who to reach out to and what to do for certain types of things that they want to do on their farms. And we're also looking at potentially advocating for more support for the Maryland Farm Link, making sure that that's updated as far as being able to access farmland, transitioning farmers from retiring farmers to new farmers. We are looking at planning a urban farm festival, the National Urban Farm Festival. So that should bring together some really great resources and highlight the work that the urban farmers are doing. Let's see, we're also looking at ways to support the urban farm incubator at Eco City, and the ways that we can work with the Maryland National Capital Park and Planning, and the work that they're doing with the Eco City as well. And I think those are the major things. There's a couple meetings coming up. ARAC, which is the Agricultural Resource Advisory Committee. Their next meeting is February 1st from 2:30 to 4. And you can get in contact with Fatima Hassan if you'd like to attend that. She can send out the link. Anything else? The next urban farm tour for the Maryland Food System Resiliency Council will be April 19th. And I think that's the big items. Any questions?
Yeah, just the appreciation, Liz. Thank you. Liz is our new co-chair for the committee. Another update we need to make to our chart. So thanks for those updates. And for those who aren't familiar with the Maryland Food System Resiliency Council, that I think it's been mentioned a few times during today's call, that's our state level food policy council, or food council, if you will, for Maryland. So it's a great resource to kind of learn what's going on across the state and connect with other partners. They have a few work groups that they run that are open to the public, some that, touch on farming, some on food access, one currently that hosts a weekly legislative update every Monday at, oh goodness, I think it's every Monday at 1 p.m. But y'all please correct me who attend that meeting if I'm wrong.
That's correct.
Okay, great. Thank you, Julia. So yeah, that's also, a really exciting group to engage with. And they will be coming, like Liz said, to tour a few farms in the county. So we're very excited for our partners from across the state to come to Prince George's and see some of the cool ag stuff that's taking place on our urban and rural farms here. Okay, any other committee leaders want to share an update? I'll give a few minutes for folks to pipe up and then we'll move on. Okay, awesome. So feel free to reference the chart. Also, we'll send you an update through Google Group once we update said chart. So keep your eyes out for that too. But it's a great resource to kind of see what's going on across the FEC and connect with other kind of like-minded folks who share your same interests and do some work together through our committee structure. Okay, stop my share here. All right. So that brings us to the end of our agenda. I'll just, quickly share that we had our new member orientation directly before this meeting. We'll be doing those new member orientations quarterly. So if you're new to the FEC, you didn't attend that, or if you're old to the FEC and just kind of want more of an in-depth look at what we're working on, do let us know and sign up for that. That orientation will include you for the next one. And our next meeting for the FEC will be in person, also with a hybrid format in April. So stay posted for more details for that. Yeah, and with that, do members have any announcements that they want to share with the group? We'll just, have an open forum for the next few minutes before we close out. I'll give like a 5-second pause for you guys to share any updates or announcements you have that you think your FEC members would be interested in hearing about. A quiet bunch today. All right. Well, with that, we will give you almost half an hour back of the rest of your afternoon. Appreciate everybody attending today. And definitely stay posted on the Google group for some of the resources that we discussed and some updates. And special appreciation to our partners who attended and shared their legislative priorities today. We really appreciate you taking time out of your day to do that. All right, well, so thank everyone, and we will be in touch with you soon. Take care.
Thank you.